If you guys played a few seasons back when Arc 3.0 was released, then you'll remember that the Storm Grenade build on Titans with Heart of Inmost Light was wild. You used to be able to throw grenades and use your melee ability every few seconds, and the build that I'm going over in this video is the closest thing to that I think is possible in the current sandbox. Just like before, the ability spam cycle is using your grenade, then melee, and then class ability, and then spamming everything from then on out. With this, we're going to be able to throw grenades every few seconds still, which can vary depending on our ionic traces. If you collect more of these, you can spam faster, and if you collect less, obviously you spam less. But the mods in this build end up carrying for the ability rotation. Orbs of power that we create with our grenades and weapon final blows are going to be giving us ability energy when picked up, and to pick these up we can also just use our class ability paired with the mod powerful attraction. Plus, with other mods on the build, using our class ability also gives us ability energy straight back, so that combined with Heart of Inmost Light and the ionic traces we're generating gives us really good ability uptime. I think this build feels extremely strong still, and was running it in the Fallen Saber GM and had zero issues keeping all my abilities up. Before we get into things, we are super close to 75,000 subs, so if you guys do find this video to help you out, make sure to drop a quick like and sub down below. Okay, starting with the Arc subclass layout. For your super, make sure you're running Thunder Crash. I don't think roaming supers tend to be super good in the game like Fist of Havoc, so Thunder Crash for like GMs dealing with champions is going to be the best route to go. In case you didn't know, Thruster is used for a couple of reasons. This has the lowest base cooldown compared to the barricade options we have. Plus, this has pretty much no animation. You do the animation very quickly and it's used to dodge rather than sitting there and placing down an actual barricade. When it comes to your melee, I honestly used to prefer Seismic Strike, but overall with the nerf, now when you use it just to move around and not even hit an enemy, you do lose 10%, which kind of sucks. So I prefer Thunderclap just to easily use this to proc Heart of Inmost Light. And then obviously we are going to be rocking pulse grenades with this build because of the benefits we get with the aspect Touch of Thunder. With Touch of Thunder and pulse grenades equipped, these pulse grenades that are on enemies are going to be creating ionic traces as they're dealing damage. I think we're generating around 1 each second as long as it's hitting an enemy, and those ionic traces will track to our position, give us additional energy back, and then on top of this, the pulse grenade deals more damage the longer that it's sitting down and lingering. So I think it does 8 total pulses, where each pulse should be increased damage from the original damage of the grenade. And then second to this, Knockout is actually a surprisingly strong aspect to run even in Grandmaster Nightfalls. With this, whenever we critically wound a target or just break their shields, we're going to be proccing Knockout, which infuses our melee with increased damage. And then after that, any melee kills we get is going to trigger health regeneration. This is really strong because once Knockout is procced, and with something like Arc Singe active in a Grandmaster, I think most of the lower tier red bars are always going to be one-hit melee kills, meaning if you're low, you can just punch something and get health regeneration to trigger immediately, keeping you alive. Fragment wise, Spark of Recharge gives us a ton of additional base regen whenever we are critically wounded for our melee and our grenade. That's going to be 400% additional base regen, which does stack on top of all the regen that we get from Heart of Inmost Light. So the nice part about this is anytime we become critically wounded and we're close to dying, we're getting a ton of additional regen for our main 2 abilities, which can then easily be used to get us out of that situation and hopefully keep us alive. Spark of Shock is going to apply jolt effects to our grenades, which is awesome for using in a GM setting because this now allows us to stun overloads effectively. Plus, jolt just increases our general damage and add clear as well. Spark of Magnitude increases the duration that pulses last. At base, they should have 6 pulses. With this, they get an additional 2, up to 8 pulses, which is a solid 33% increase in the duration. And I think this does affect damage as well. Don't quote me on that, but this should work with Touch of Thunder as it increases in damage to allow those last 2 pulses to hit pretty hard. And then very lastly, in most endgame content builds, Spark of Resistance is a very solid 25% damage resistance source anytime we're surrounded by, I think, 3 or more enemies, and it does linger for 2 seconds. So it's pretty good. It did get nerfed, but it's definitely worth having in the build. These are all the mods we're running on screen right now, but I did want to go through why I made certain decisions because some of the mods that I picked are for optimizing how much energy we get back. An example of this is something like Bolstering Detonation, which gives 20% class ability energy each time our grenade deals damage. I think this works once per grenade we use. This, with the mod combination I have, obviously means we can't use heavy-handed to make orbs. And for that reason, I was originally running something like Insulation so that I could make more orbs and get energy back when I pick them up. But Insulation only gives like 6% class ability energy back. So for that reason, I swapped things around so that we could get energy for our grenade and melee instead, which is a bit larger, and then get more energy back through bolstering detonation, even though we lost out on something like heavy-handed. That being said, on my helmet, I'm running 1 copy of Ashes to Assets and then 1 of Hands On to increase the super energy we get back through melee and grenade final blows. That being said, there is something that I'll throw on screen right now from the compendium, which says it doesn't work simultaneously, but I'm pretty sure that just means you can't have a kill count for both melee and grenade at the same time to essentially double the energy you get back. So I think it works independently. You just don't want to use these against these same enemies. And then with that, I am using Arc Siphon with an Arc primary weapon so that I can generate even more orbs of power. All armor charge stacks will be feeding directly into grenade kickstart on our gauntlets. Whenever we throw our grenade, this consumes all of our charge stacks and then gives us grenade energy directly back. I've already explained why we have bolstering detonation, and then we do also have firepower to increase the amount of orbs of power we're generating as we're constantly throwing grenades. In case it wasn't already apparent, make sure you're running Heart of Inmost Light as your exotic chest piece, and then I tend to just run resistance-based mods for the mod slots on each chest piece that I run for endgame content. On our boots, Invigoration and then Innervation are both going to give us 10% melee and grenade energy respectively anytime we pick up an orb of power. And then with this, we also have stacks on stacks. This doubles the armor charge stacks that we get when picking up orbs of power, which plays really well with any kickstart mod because it means if we have armor charge stacks, we at least have 2 or more, giving more energy back for those kickstart mods. I will say, in certain pieces of endgame content, if you're solo or getting heavily prioritized and you find yourself dying a lot, swapping recuperation out for invigoration is a really good option so that you're constantly getting healing back with the build as well. Lastly, for our class ability, we have 1 copy of Outreach and 1 copy of Bomber. This gives grenade and melee energy back anytime we use our thruster or class ability. This will be 12% for each ability with just 1 copy when running these on Titans. And then on top of that, we are also running Powerful Attraction so that when we use our class ability, any orbs of power that we haven't picked up nearby will automatically be grabbed, giving us armor charge stacks and then also the benefits from our leg armor mods that I just covered. This is an amazing combination because we're constantly using thruster because of the base low cooldown that it has, so we're constantly pumping energy into our grenade and our melee ability and collecting all those orbs that we're creating. The GM this week is Fallen Saber, and this is obviously going to have Arc Surge and Strand Surge. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure this Surge rotates for any GM, and we always have Strand Surge at least this season. And then with that, we also have Barrier and Overload champions. So this was the loadout I had on, which was Ikelos to pair with the Arc Surge, and then also Demo to get grenade energy back through kills, and then Arbalest to deal with anti-barrier champions. That said, if you don't have one of the old roles of Ikelos because you can't get Demo on it anymore, you can easily just use a crafted Rufus's Fury, which is going to have Frenzy and Demo, which is really good. And then also, since it's an auto this season, you get anti-barrier rounds, and you can always deal with overloads with jolting grenades. So this loadout is going to be pretty good, and then you can pair this with like whatever special weapon you may want to run. That's the end of the video and the full build. I do stream over on Twitch if you guys ever want to stop by while I'm live and ask any build related questions over there, and always feel free to ask questions in the comments down below or even in my Discord server. Have a good one, guys. Peace.